So this video is, I think, the longest one that I've done, especially considering a lot of it is sped up. So this is me making my 4 blocks to eventually put them all together to really get a good start on this. From here on out, I honestly might not record like every single bit of sewing that I do. I guess I'll just get feedback on that because it's going to be just a lot of the same stuff. The only reason I'm doing it right now is just because it is a bit of a different sort of video because at the end something else actually happens. Something different actually happens, but and this is the most that I've sewn at one time. Well, I say at one time, technically this was over the course of like 3 separate periods. Because I started out like one day, it was like kind of well, it's always at nighttime pretty much, but I started out and then I got tired, so then I took a nap, and then I came back to it after my nap, and then I was like, okay, I'm good, and then the next day I came back to it again, so yeah, that's one thing that I guess I've got plenty of time to talk here that I've kind of been struggling with is, especially a quilt like this, is just there's a lot to it. So if you don't have like the brain power, like I don't a lot of the time, it's just kind of a lot to ask, you know. When I say a lot to ask, it's not like anybody's forcing me, you know, to do it or whatever. It's more of a mental thing where I feel bad that I'm not accomplishing this task, even though I'm not technically, you know, on a time crunch or anything. I mean, she doesn't know anything about it. I mean, I'm assuming. So I'm hard on myself. And also, after this first bit of sewing, I don't know what it is, but, you know, she was having all that anxiety and stuff like that. And I guess I'm just like an empathetic person. And I know like this is gonna sound funny. Those people are like, oh, you know, you're twins, so if one feels something, the other one will feel it. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just like when she started having all this anxiety, like, I don't know, I almost kind of came back to that. I don't know if it's like a little bit of like PTSD, where I was like, oh yeah, I remember when all that stuff happened to me. And it was just a really rough time. But there also are some things coming up in my life that are just quite a bit of different stuff. Not necessarily bad things. Well, one of the things is a little scary. Getting the laser eye surgery, possibly. But yeah, and that's just kind of how my brain works. Even if it's something that's like good change, I still like get anxious about it, which is really unfortunate. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. It just, I don't know, I get to thinking about a lot of what ifs, and I mean, that's not good for anybody. I figured I would try to talk as much as I can during all this. I mean, I'm not sure if I can talk for 20 minutes or however long this actually is, this first part here. Because I hate kind of like stopping and having to edit a bunch of that stuff. So I will say one positive thing about all this that you're watching now. Once I kind of got into a rhythm, it was much faster than I had been going, which was good. This is kind of the first time I've really felt like I've gotten to a good rhythm to get it done. I talk about this later in the video, but the colored squares, I always was dogging on the black stuff being stretchy, but the colored squares are actually stretchier than I kind of originally thought they were. And you'll see that ends up kind of being a problem. So I don't know, it's like I kind of start out thinking, oh yeah, this is good, not something I have to worry about, and then later on I discover like, oh okay, this isn't really quite like I thought it was. I thought it was just a fluke, that maybe it was a little off, but the more that I sew, the more I'm kind of realizing other things are kind of cropping up that I didn't think I would have to worry about. So kind of unfortunate, but I mean, we're just gonna roll with the punches. But yeah, you'll kind of see later on how it all turns out. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to put all this in one video because, I mean, it is a lot. But I thought, honestly, if you're just seeing sped up stuff of me sewing, like, that's not really much of a video. I mean, yeah, I'm talking during some of this, but I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of jumping in this one. Usually I just kind of let the camera go and then I'll just do my editing after, but after each bit here, I actually cut the camera. I think this is my, I can't really tell. Okay. Yeah, so, I'm trying to, if this literally just happened yesterday, but I'm trying to remember, I'm just showing all of me picking out the seams there. It must have been on like upside down or something. And yeah, spoiler alert, this is not the first time that I'm gonna have an issue like this. It's a bit larger scale, but yeah, I'm just gonna say that right now. But I was just gonna kind of show, I mean, this is sped up like 5.5 times speed. It just, oh, I hate taking stuff out like this. It's so frustrating because that's the thing, even after you pick it all out, you gotta take all the little threads out of each side. Yeah, so I'm looking at it, making sure I got all of it out. Oh boy, I'm taking off the other side too. Okay, so I really screwed up something. Oh, you know what? I bet I didn't have my long strip going the right way, because with all of my strips, no matter what, well, I don't want to say no matter what, it's very confusing, which again you'll see later on. I'll talk about that. Not the fact that it's confusing, I don't go out and say that, but it's pretty obvious from what happens it gets confusing. But yeah, so I must have got everything mixed up, because I think the white strip is always on the top, and as you can see there, it's black on the top. So I must have just had to switch everything around. Yeah, I looked at the camera for a second because I dropped something on the floor. Oh, I dropped the strip in the trash can. That's what it was. So I had to pick that up. Oh yeah, don't mind my my belly there. I've been eating too many cookies, and actually that's really no joke. We got into those crumble cookies, and they're good, but yeah, we really need to stop eating those. It's an addiction. Like, you know, people have their vices, like, oh, I smoke cigarettes, oh, I drink alcohol. It's like, oh no, I eat cookies. Like, no, for real. I mean, not just cookies, sugar in general. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, I did adjust the camera so it's a little dimmer. I was just about to say in that last clip it was super bright. Oh, okay, yeah, I had to fix my bobbin here. Oh, no, I had to get a new one. See, I'm already forgetting what I've even done. Yeah, so there I am. It wasn't even super low. I think it just got jammed, and I was like, you know what, it's low enough. I'm just gonna go ahead and change it so I don't have to deal with it later. So yeah, that's what I did. I think in another clip, maybe it jammed or something. I don't know. I mean, that wouldn't be surprising. Although I will say, for some reason, I mean, knock on wood, I've actually had more luck with my bobbins. Okay, yeah. In this, I did notice when I was starting to speed up the clips that some of this is blurry. And I don't know if it's better shutting off the camera and turning it back on, but unfortunately, let's see here. I think this is a decently sized clip here, and it's all blurry. Yeah, I still know what the deal is with that. I mean, my husband uses this camera also for D&D, so I tried to change settings on it, and I did successfully change settings, but I never changed them back, and I don't even know if it was helpful or not. I didn't even have the settings changed for long enough to really test it all that much. And I'm trying to figure out what it's focused on right now. It kind of looks like it's focused on that little floral thing in the back. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little cat that my mother-in-law got me from Mexico. It's super cute. You can't even see the whole thing, but I really like it. I kind of wish we could see the whole thing since it seems to be focused on that. Oh well. Oh, I don't even know. Was I picking there? No, who knows? Yeah, it's so blurry, you can't even see anyway, so I guess there's no use. But, yeah, we're going pretty good here. Okay, this is also, I was adjusting the stitch length because I feel like they were really tiny. And I know there's a moment here, I don't know when I do it, but I look up on my phone what a proper stitch length is, which I don't even remember what I had it on originally. I think it was like 2 maybe. I'm still looking at the stitch length. So I think at one point I bumped it up to 3 just to see what that looked like. I think I settled on 2.5, because I think that's what it showed online. The stitch length should be between like 2.5 and 3, just kind of your preference. Yeah, I don't even know what I was doing there. Oh, here we go. So I think I'm searching it now. What the stitch length should be. Like, oh, okay, yeah, 2.5. Let's do that. That's what I decided on. That's one thing that's been kind of interesting. Just, man, I'm already picking something out. I'm wondering if that one got stuck in the hole. It maybe did. Anyway, what I was gonna say is that's one thing that's been kind of interesting. Like, kind of the more experience you get, I don't have much experience, but a tiny bit more, I guess. Looking at things like the stitch length, it's like, I never would have thought about it before, but now I'm kind of paying attention to stuff like that. Like, does that look right? I don't know. I can't decide. So, kind of funny, but it was a little bit short. I don't know if it looks a ton better, but it'll be all right. Another thing I was also going to bring up is the fact that I was having to start the stitching in later, or further in, I guess, because that fabric was getting caught in that hole. But I think maybe, and this is just a guess, part of the problem was I wasn't pulling my thread tight enough. So when it was starting, it was getting sucked in because maybe the thread was something with the thread. I'm just assuming here. So I actually did move it back some more, and it's able to go through okay doing it that way. So I'm like, well, if I can continue doing it at that further back location on the presser foot, I think that'll be better for sure. Okay, yeah, this is where I must have had a jam. I just got rid of all that. I think that was the one where there was like a extra little thread poking out, and I don't usually throw out the correct one right away, but I think I literally got the correct one like the first try. I just pulled it right out. So that was good. That was I think that was really a first time deal there. Yeah, literally this is going to be like the longest clip, but the blurriest. Oh well, I'm kind of just doing the same thing over and over again anyway. Oh, okay, yeah, now you can see it's focusing on my shoe pencil holder back there. So, fun. You can see that pretty well, at least. Oh, I'm trying not to yawn, but I got an hour before bed, and I'm recording this because this whole thing kind of took longer than I was expecting. But again, later in the video, you'll see why that is. Well, who am I kidding? I actually usually do these voiceovers pretty late anyway, so I still would have probably ended up doing it at the same time regardless. Let's see, we've got maybe another 5 minutes or so until we get to, well, it's more talking. Ah, yes, finally, we're clear. You can see what I'm doing. Of course, again, I've cut all the parts out where I'm pinning because that's just annoying. Well, I say that. I mean, you'll see some later on. That's what I was just going to mention is the part where we're actually seeing something different. I do slow it down to normal speed So after this voiceover part, I will be just talking with the camera the rest of the video. So you'll just hear a voiceover for this first part. And I don't know, it's kind of nice doing the voiceover thing because then I don't, I can just concentrate. But also, I've heard that I sound tired when I'm doing these, which, I mean, it's not wrong. I am tired, but no, it's okay. I don't want there to literally just be music behind me. I just think that would be, I don't know, kind of boring. Especially since I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, that pin thing is so handy. When I got done with everything today, there was still a couple pins on the floor, apparently. And I almost stepped on one. But I just got my little pin thing with the magnet. I just think I showed this before where I just put it upside down with the magnet kind of facing the floor and just move it around. And it 9 times out of 10 will pick up at least one pin. So it's a pretty good deal. Yeah, I think this is, judging by how much time we have left, I think this is the last block that I'm sewing right now. Looks like I had to have just a little bit more jamming there. Well, not had to, but the way things were going, it was going too swimmingly. I had to have some more jams. But yeah. At this point, yeah, I don't know. I've been talking for almost 17 minutes now. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't mind talking too much, but just trying to figure out what to say. What the heck. I'll just be silent the rest of it, and then you'll get to hear me talk again. You'll get a little bit of a break, so congrats. So I figured I would go ahead and just show you like what the plan is. I sat here for quite a while last night trying to figure this out to see what would be the best way to go about piecing it together. So I've kind of numbered my steps here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4 blocks together. So like all these ones are going to be my 4 blocks. You can't really see it too well, but I have kind of like Sharpied my 4 blocks, you know, of each thing that I'm doing. So I'm going to be doing that for, you know, quite a while. The second thing I'm going to be doing after I get my 4 blocks, as you can see up here, I'm going to be doing, there's going to be a remainder of like each of these 2 blocks here. So these 2 blocks are going to go onto these 4. So these 2 onto these 4, and then these 2 onto these 4. So that is step 2. And then I put like how many blocks I'm putting on each. Okay, so step 3, we're doing the set of the right hand blocks with the left 4, 2 onto 2. So now we're going to be doing these set of 6 onto this set of 4. So it's still going, you know, 2 to 2, which each of those. So then once we get that, we'll have all of these bits. So then that brings us to our last one. So we got a set of 10 onto a set of 10. So we're going 5 onto 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these 5 onto these 5. So another way I could have done it is I could have went the long way. But from my little tiny bit of experience that I have, you want to try to connect at least as many blocks together as possible. So if I were to go this way, so if I were to have these strips or whatever, then I would end up having to connect 6 to 6, which is like, it's not a huge deal, but I think it would be easier to go 5 to 5 instead of 6 to 6. You just kind of want to have to work with the least amount of fabric at a time as possible. So that's pretty much that. And then of course we have our border here that we're going to do, but yeah, that's a whole other ball game. So that is the plan. Hello, so we are finally to the part of the video where I have actually made 4 blocks, and I am going to press them per my quilting pattern instructions. I think I briefly mentioned this in maybe one of the first couple of videos, and I don't think I've really talked about it since. So basically, the pressing part is just supposed to help the pieces interlock better. I've never used this method before, so we'll just have to see how it goes. I'll go ahead and show you from the pattern, like the little diagram that it's referring to when it is talking about pressing the pieces. So this is what we've got here. I don't know if you can see it all, but like basically at the top here, we have arrows that are showing to press the seams in like inward on both sides, and then we have like the sides here where to press those seams. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. Let me go ahead and see if I can pan the camera down. I have my ironing board like right here. That's why I'm kind of standing weird. Okay, that should be good. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and bring these over. I have my big ironing board and iron out today. I first attempted this with the small stuff, but I don't know, it just got kind of annoying. And these pieces are quite big at this point. If you remember, they're like 16.5 inches square here. So the little ironing board, honestly, it wasn't even like that small. This is still like hanging over quite a bit on the end, but we'll just make do here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start spraying. And yeah, as I think said before, this black fabric is really pretty bad. It's a little dim. Let me see if I can see. There we go, brighten it up. Oh, it might be a little bit too bright. Bring it down 1 notch. All right. And another thing that I'm like really not used to is these seams are so tiny compared to, you know, the last quilt that I did. So All right. I feel like the black, I'm just drenching it. Oh, that's basically what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and like wet this whole thing that I'm about to iron before. But it's like I can't do any finer of a mist. So it's just gonna have to be drenched. I mean, luckily when the steaming kind of gets going, most of that water does go away. So, okay. So for our first long seam here, it is showing that we need to go in with both of these, which is funny because I'm so used to splitting them and putting the water there. It's still very wet though, so I think it'll be wet enough to where it won't matter. All right, so let's go ahead. Oh no. See, I'm already not doing the pressing thing. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm already ironing, I'm not pressing. Ah, that's definitely something I'm gonna have to get used to. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we are literally just pressing the iron down. We're not moving it. I'm really trying not to move it anyway. Okay, now let's do this side. I gotta remember to bring all these seams in. All right. And with the other side, I might just try to do them at the same time. Like, I think that would probably make more sense, huh? We'll see. I mean, it might not work, but like in theory, you know, it would save some time, I think. Okay. That is that. It looks pretty flat. Still a little, I think I might add a little bit more water to the top here. Okay, I wonder if I could zoom in just a little bit here. If I can move this down. I think either way, it's going to be a little bit awkward. Also, my camera is on a really old tripod, so it's kind of wanting to like not stay in the position I put it in. It's like wanting to kind of sway. Okay, I don't know if that's any better, but anyway, that's that side. So then of course we'll do the same thing with the other side. And yeah, again, I got to break my habit. So I'm actually going to lay it down, you know, how it's supposed to be. This side is already actually laid down where it's supposed to be. So really, we're just kind of focusing on the other side. But even the other side's really not that bad either. That's working out pretty well. And actually, if this ends up working out, this will be easier than when I did my other quilt, because my other quilt, I literally did lay out every single seam. That was very time consuming, so. But really, the innermost ones shouldn't matter. Okay. I'm gonna go for the middle just a little bit here. I'm just like afraid to burn it, because I know how the black fabric kind of has been with the iron, so I'm just trying to be careful. I'm going to do these tops again. They don't like to hold down very well. It's definitely steaming, so. All right. That's that. Let me see what else we need to do here. Okay. So then these parts, we need to go out, which is interesting. Okay, out right here. Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and, oops, spray all of it. So this is another one where I'm going to see if I can kind of pre-flatten it and then just use the iron. There we go, that nice steam. Now it's not going to be 100% flat right here because of how I sewed it. But that's all right because it's the innermost part, it's not the outer, so think it'll be a big deal. Oh boy. Yeah, this is a really old ironing board too, so if you hear some sounds, that's just old. Old sounds. Okay. Whoop. Well, that one does not want to go out. Again, how I sewed it, which I think in the end it won't be a big deal. But, alright. I would say generally that worked fairly well. Okay. I say that. I don't know. Ooh, that got really wet right there. Goodness gracious. I'm going to try to... There we go. Get rid of that. Okay, I'm just probably going to go through the first one here and then just speed through the rest. Just make it a little bit easier so you don't have to just listen to me blabbing this whole time. Okay, I just want to make sure it's good, you know? Okay. And as I was like waiting here, I could smell something burning, and I had already turned my iron on, but I had it down like this, and it was burning the ironing board. I've never had that before. I didn't even think it was that hot, but I guess I looked at it and it wasn't even on the cotton setting. It was on the highest setting, which is linen apparently. So yeah, that was that was interesting. Okay, now I'm second guessing this. Okay, yeah, these need to go out. Okay, out, out, out. Right. Out. It just feels so unnatural to have them going, you know, all different ways. Okay. Ooh, that was a lot of steam. Got a lot of water on that one. Whew. Okay. Here we go. I feel like this is already dry. Whoa. Yeah, actually, I think I am just going to do one side at a time. Yeah, because if I try to do both, I just don't know. I'm trying to get it just right. If it happens to go on both, then it works. I'm not going to, you know, mess with it, but alright. I don't even know if that's really all that pressed. Like, I still feel like it's really wanting to go the way that it was originally going. So I don't know how much this is really going to help. I mean, I'm going to pin everything regardless. So I don't know how much the pressing really does, but you know, for right now, I'm just following the instructions. Okay, good. Because I was actually looking at this and you can really see an iron line here, but on the front, you can't even see it. But once we get done with everything, we're going to iron the entire quilt anyway, so it's really not going to matter. All right, first one down, 3 more to go. Okay, so I'm just going to pop in real quick here and apologize. Like, it's really hard to see exactly, like, what the camera's looking like, so it is like super bright. And also when I said, oh, I've got it off center, it's like, oh no, you got it even more off center. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. And just like that clip that was like really blurry. I mean, I'm not constantly like looking over at the camera all the time, so and I'm just looking at like this little monitor. I mean, I say it's little, actually, you know, for a camera like that, it's a decent size. I'm happy I have it. But either way, just thought I'd mention that. Okay, so now that we've got everything pressed, we're going to pin our first 2 blocks here. And I've got out my little clipboard here, so I'm kind of looking at how they need to go together. So let me get my pins. Okay, so this is going to go on top of this. Go ahead, line it up here, see what we've got. All right, and I'm going to do, let me see if I can zoom you in even more. I don't know if that's actually going to be helpful or not, but all right. Let's see. So we're only pinning this one side for now, and then of course the more we add on to, we're gonna have to pin more. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my method that I've been doing, and I'm gonna go ahead and pin the ends first, get those in place. All right, I'm gonna kind of lift it up a little bit. And actually, let me flip it around here. So I'm trying to see, I don't know, it's honestly like, it's pretty even compared to like what I'm kind of been used to. So it's really not all that far off. Just gotta figure out where else to pin it here. Okay. Okay, so generally this part right here, oh, I've got it quite off center. Let me moving it around. Generally this part here is the shortest. So, which it still is, it's just kind of more subtle once the blocks are actually together, which I don't know, that seems to be kind of a good thing actually. So let's go ahead and pin these middle blocks together. I don't know, maybe this is not a good thing, I don't know, but this just seems much more level than what I was working with before. So, I mean, it's nice, but I don't know, it kind of makes me like skeptical. Like, what's the catch here? What's going on? Okay. So let me, I'm gonna kind of shimmy it here. Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be lining up pretty good, really. And this is where you do kind of try to match up seams, which, I mean, yeah, just kind of where it's naturally falling, they're lining up pretty well. So that is definitely a good sign. So let me go ahead and pin. Oop. I've already got a pin on this side of this seam. I'm going to pin on the other side of that seam so that doesn't go anywhere. That is pretty spot on, which is great. And then for good measure, I think I'm just going to go ahead and pin on either side. Oh, excuse me. Well, in the middle. I'm going to pin in the middles here. All right. The other thing too is once you get more fabric to have to deal with, it just gets a little tricky. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin, let me make sure here. So I've done the top 2 together, and then I'm going to do the ones under that together. So I've got my next 2 here. I got to make sure we're going the right way. Let me put these other ones to the side. Those are pinned and ready to go. Oh, we lost some thread there. All right, so then these ones are going to be, Let's see, we need a green in this corner, so that's probably going to be that one. And then, actually, I think how I have it laid out is how it's going to go, but let me double check with my picture here. And that's the thing, just like making sure all the colors line up exactly how they're supposed to be. Now these won't be, since they're actually like pretty nice, it's not going to be as big of a deal if I have to rip them apart, but you know, the more pieces you add onto each other, it's just going to be kind of annoying to have to rip up too much. Okay, so that's not quite right. Let me get this flipped around. I think this is the way it goes. Yeah, because both of these, all of these squares have the whites on the top. All right, and then we got black on the bottom. Yep, black on the bottom. Got white, black. White, black, yes. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead. I'll just kind of show you. Take this one, I'm gonna flip this onto this one. We're pinning this side. All right, so I'm gonna take it here and see what we're working with. Now this one is a little bit more off. Okay, this is more kind of what I'm used to looking at. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin the ends first. And I would like to think that if, you know, if the ends line up well, then, you know, everything else should line up well if I did it good enough, but, you know, you really can't go by that. You still want to go by your seams, which they might be like the tiniest bit off, but, you know, of course, once we pin it, it'll be all right. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it because this side's wanting to kind of fall down. Okay, so let's bring this up. Again, it looks like our lowest point. I mean, by not much at all is this middle part. So we're going to bring it up and match those seams there. Put a little pin. And we're going to match this one. Put a little pin. Whoop, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's just more fabric to work with, so I'm kind of having to like pick it up and reposition it here. Okay, there we go. All right, let's make sure that seam is lined up. Yep, which it pretty much is. Just hoping this works out. This is kind of the moment of truth, you know. So of course, once we pin both of these, we'll go ahead and sew them, and then we will sew the 2 and the 2 together to make our 4 blocks. And that will be our first quad. With my other quilt, I would call them trios because I would sew like 3 together at a time, like 3 little pieces. Well, there's so many pieces on this, it's like, yeah, what would you even call that? So the whole block situation together, I'm going to call a quad. All right, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and just kind of do like the other one and just pin. Since it's still kind of damp, it's just like, ugh, kind of sticking together like weird. I don't know. All right, one more pin for each of those. All right, and you know what? Let's throw a pin in the middle there. I actually don't know if I threw a pin in the middle of the other one, but... Oh, I have a regular sewing needle I threw in there. Interesting. I don't recall doing that. Maybe my mother-in-law did that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have to put that somewhere else. All right, we're all pinned up. All right, first up here... Yeah, so I'm noticing, I mean, this is not too much thicker, but it's thick enough to where it's just slowing it down a bit. So this is going to be kind of interesting. think I'm definitely gonna wanna not pull too hard. I just wanna gently pull it. But I am feeling like I'm definitely gonna have to just pull it a little bit more than I normally would. Okay, so now I guess I need to make sure that whichever ways I ironed my stuff, that I keep it going that way. So I just have to be conscious of that. Because when I was sewing before, I wasn't really thinking about, you know, which way I was sewing all my seams down. But since I've specifically ironed them this way, I really should keep them that way. Now I gotta think about it, so I'm just like taking my time here. Okay, got that one down. Okay, got bunched up a little bit at the end there. Hopefully it'll be all right. This is definitely a moment of truth here. I haven't got my scissors down yet. Let me grab those. Well, shoot. Yeah, I've got my bright light here, so it's just kind of hard to balance between, you know, the light and dark because it feels so bright here, but yeah, I was trying to adjust it, but yeah, so much for that. Okay, hopefully I got my seam ripper. Hopefully I won't have to use it, but we will see. Go ahead and take my pins out. All right, I am nervous to open this up. Okay, let me look at it here. Okay. Oh, I forgot a pin. I thought that looks kind of weird down there. Why does it look like that? Okay. So I've got a little bit of puckering here. But I think if, you know, once we actually iron that out, that should be okay. And another thing, oh man, that looks so crazy, actually having two of these pieces together now. So strange. I mean, we're gonna have a big quilt in a fairly short time, so I'm gonna have to get used to that for sure. But yeah, you know what? It has actually, it's a tiny bit off. I mean, of course, it's going to be, you know, here and there, but I mean, I think for the most part, it looks pretty good. And as my mother-in-law would say, once it gets quilted, you won't even notice the little tiny imperfections anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna lay it down. I'm not going to show you just yet. I'm going to show at the very end when we get all 4 blocks together to kind of see how it looks. But I'm going to lay it down on the floor and just kind of look at it for a minute and just see if there's anything I can improve on for the next one. So, okay, so I kind of got a good look at the other ones that I just put together. And the main thing, and I've talked about this before, how some of the fabric is really stretchy. So it just gets a little bit off, and putting these things together, it can bunch up just a little bit. So I'm just gonna have to keep that in mind and not stretch it out a whole lot, but you know, just make sure that it's not going to bunch up. It did a little bit. I mean, I'm hoping that once, you know, I get it all ironed out, it'll kind of fix itself, but that might be kind of the thing that we'll have to look at it, like the Beetlejuice kind of kookiness. And once we get it kind of as like a whole unit, you know, and all ironed and everything like it's supposed to be, it might end up being better. But right now I've only got 2 blocks to look at, so it's a little more obvious. So that's just something we'll have to keep in mind. Okay, so what I've done here, so I don't have to move the camera again because that was just getting kind of annoying. I've got my first 2 blocks here set up, and then I've got my other 2. I just need to figure out how this goes so I can sew it on together accordingly. And I actually think the way I just randomly put it down is the way it needs to go, which is kind of funny. We got green, white, purple, purple, black, green. Yeah, just like eyeing everything. Okay, yeah, actually that's correct. So we'll go ahead, and we're wanting to pin this part. So I'm gonna go ahead and, ooh, my seam ripper was under there hiding. Okay, this is gonna be a lot more to have to line up here. So I am, in this instance, I think I'm going to go by block. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the middle first. If this doesn't end up working out, that's fine. I just kind of got to pick a spot and kind of go from there. Okay. Just at least that way I kind of have something that's held together so I can kind of focus on the rest of it. All right. And with the smaller pieces, I kind of could let them naturally fall. But since this is like kind of heavier, it's a little difficult to do that. All right, I'm just gonna look at it here, and I'm kind of seeing, at least on this side, that there's more stuff sticking up on the back. So let me flip it over and look at what we've got going on this other side. Okay, yep. So once again, our middle is the lowest points. So I'm going to line that up. I only want 1 pin for now. I'm going to line up the seams. Line up that seam. So something that was kind of interesting is it's like I'm lining up the seams to a point, but some of these pieces are just like slightly wider or whatever, especially these like thin black pieces here. So if one of them is like a little bit thinner than the other one, like it's noticeable because it's supposed to look like one continuous strip. So yeah, that's I'm a little nervous about that. You know, I really wasn't thinking too much into it, but now that I've kind of encountered it, I'm like, oh boy. So that's gonna be a little nerve-wracking kind of dealing with that, I think. All right. Since we are kind of dealing with one side at a time here, I am kind of letting it just see how it's going to naturally fall. See where we need to pin it. All right, here we go. I'm going to do at least one more down here. That's probably good. Okay, now we'll look at this side to see what we've got going on over here. Okay. This side, I'm actually going to flip it again and see. All right. So this is where it's kind of getting to be a bit of an issue. These I'm having to stretch just a tiny bit to actually match up the seams where they need to be. So hopefully that won't be a problem, but we'll just have to see once we get our finished block. And that's the other problem about doing one that has a very specific sort of pattern to it. If it doesn't line up exactly, it's like kind of more noticeable versus one like I did for my mother-in-law. If it doesn't line up 100%, like there's really not a pattern to it, like a specific pattern that you're going by. so it's not as big of a deal. So I would say if you're a beginner, maybe don't do something so complicated. Just to save yourself, you know, a little bit of stress. Okay, those seams are looking like that they're lining up pretty good. I'll go ahead and just kind of finish this off. This corner is like, oof. I'm not going to stretch it too much down here. I just kind of want to let it lay just how it's going to. I'm just trying to be kind of careful about that. Alrighty, I think, let's see, I'm going to do one more pin down this end that you can't see. Because that's quite a bit of fabric to go through here. I think we're okay there. Let's see, just kind of lightly pull on it. Okay. Sure, why not? We'll do another pin down there. We might as well just use all of our pins. It wouldn't hurt anything, really. Might as well. They're already kind of where they need to be, but I'm just kind of throwing them in there. Alrighty, so let me set this aside. Let me get my sewing machine back up on the table. I just set it on the floor. Okay, make sure we got it where we need it. Okay. Alright, we got a lot sticking out at the top here, so I definitely want to make sure I'm sewing on this side so I can see it. I think that's the biggest part right there at the top. So, I'm always hoping I made good choices, you know, with all that kind of stuff. But you won't really know until you see the finished project and just kind of give it a once over. Alright, here we go. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. I don't know if you can tell from the camera that it is a little bit, well, as I was saying, kind of bunched up, especially like in that center part there. Let me see if I can kind of get close. Yeah, once you kind of get closer to it, you can see, if it'll focus there, it kind of bunching up here. So what I'm like tempted to do, and I don't know if this would be a no-no, but typically I would iron it at this point just to kind of see, you know, how it's going to lay out. Because I am really curious. The other thing that's kind of interesting is whenever you put the, I mean, if I'm looking at it from the camera, it looks more noticeable, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's that noticeable or if I'm just paranoid, but the odd sized ones actually do look a tiny bit bigger than the other ones here. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of hard to say without looking at the whole thing. Like, you know, we haven't made the whole quilt yet. So I guess I really can't say that like for absolute certainty. That's the only other thing that's like kind of standing out to me, I guess. Another thing that was like kind of a bummer, which I really couldn't control this, is I wish, So you can't even tell that there's like a black border here and then a black strip. Like, I mean, that is just like two separate pieces. Like you can see when I kind of like zoom in there. I would have liked to do white on either side, which, trust me, I looked at the pattern several times to see if I could do it that way, but unfortunately I couldn't. And again, it's one of those, once we get more pieces, it probably won't be as noticeable. I'm just, you know, noticing it right now. So anyway, those are my thoughts for that. Okay, so this is the actual finished 4 squares here. Yeah, I just showed the other 4 squares, but it turns out that the pattern was not correct on them. So I basically had, you know, these 2 together. I think it was like they were all going down one and then these were together. And yeah, that's not how the pattern is supposed to go. It's supposed to alternate like this, where like the diagonals match. So now the diagonals match. I didn't want to like film all that stuff that I did because it's basically like the same stuff. And yeah, that just would have taken too much more time. But anyway, so here's our actual final project. I would like to say that it gave me some practice to see if I could figure out like that bunching in the middle, but no, I mean, we still have bunching in the middle. I don't know if it's any better, like maybe a tiny bit. It's really hard to tell. But anyway, we might just have to go with it. I'm really tempted to iron it. I think I said that in the last clip, but I think I should hold off. Really, I don't think it'd be a good idea, at least with this pattern, to do any ironing until like the end. I mean, I'm not sure on that. Unfortunately, the pattern that I have is pretty much just that. It has a little bit of instruction, but like not really. It kind of just assumes you know what you're doing. So the only instructions were that pressing method. That's all it mentioned. It didn't say like, you know, iron as you go or, you know, anything. I don't think it says anything about ironing altogether. So I might just have to play it safe and wait on that. That might change, but for right now, I am going to hold off.